My name is Sarah Mitchell, and the smell of roasted turkey couldn't mask the tension as I entered my parents' dining room. 3 hours of silent judgment had already settled over the mahogany table. Still working at that office downtown? My mother asked, voice syrupy but sharp. Marcus snorted. Jennifer smirked. They saw a receptionist. I saw the room full of people who had no idea who I really was. The polished black dress, the calm sip of water, the smile I didn't give away everything a mask. Receptionist. The smell of roasted turkey filled my parents' dining room, but it couldn't quite cover the tension that had been building since I walked through the door 3 hours ago. I sat at the far end of the mahogany table, the same table where I'd eaten countless childhood dinners. Back when things were different, back when I was still trying to earn their approval. So Sarah, my mother began, her voice dripping with false sweetness as she passed the cranberry sauce to my brother, still working at that office building downtown. I took a sip of water, keeping my expression neutral. His mom, same place. Still as a... My father didn't even look up from carving the turkey. His tone suggested he already knew the answer and found it disappointing. I work at the front desk. Yes. Marcus snorted into his wine glass. My sister-in-law, Jennifer, who'd married into money and never let anyone forget it, placed a manicured hand on his arm, her diamond bracelet catching the chandelier light. Oh, Marcus, be nice to your sister. Not everyone can be a regional sales director like you. I'm just saying. Marcus leaned back in his chair. It's Marcus. Been what, 5 years since college, and you're still answering phones? I was managing a team of 15 by year 3. Marcus is being considered for vice president of sales next quarter. My mother added proudly, beaming at my brother. The youngest VP in the company's history. That's wonderful, I said quietly, taking a bite of mashed potatoes. My father finally set down the carving knife and fixed me with that look. The one that had made me feel small my entire childhood. Your mother and I are just concerned, Sarah. You were supposed to be something. Top of your class in high school. Full scholarship to state university. We thought you'd at least be managing something by now. Instead, she's still greeting visitors and transferring calls, Marcus said, shaking his head. Did you even try to move up? Or are you just comfortable being mediocre? I cut another piece of turkey, chewing slowly. The key to these dinners was patience. Engagement only made things worse. Maybe she likes it, Jennifer offered, though her tone suggested she couldn't imagine why anyone would. Some people just aren't ambitious. They're content with simple jobs, simple lives. Nothing wrong with honest work, my father said, though his expression contradicted his words. But we raised you to excel, Sarah, to lead. And here you are essentially doing what a high school graduate could do. My mother sighed dramatically. I just don't know where we went wrong. Marcus is thriving on track to make 6 figures before he's 35. And you're answering phones. The salary must be terrible too, Jennifer added, eyeing my simple black dress. Our money, though I'd removed the label, purchased during a business trip to Milan last month. How much does a receptionist even make? 30,000. 35. Something like that, I murmured. Marcus laughed. This Sarah. I spend more than that on the lease for my BMW. How do you even live on that? I manage. Do you still have that tiny apartment in the old part of downtown? My mother asked. The one with the outdated kitchen. I have a place downtown. Yes. A penthouse, actually. Occupying the entire top floor of one of the city's newest luxury buildings with a view of the river that Architectural Digest had featured in their September issue. But they didn't need to know that. Well, my father said, returning to his turkey with renewed vigor. At least it's honest work, like I said. Better than being unemployed, I suppose. Though barely, Marcus muttered. The dinner continued like this for another hour. Between bites of food, My family took turns dissecting my apparent failures. My mother lamented about what her book club friends must think. My father compared me unfavorably to his colleagues' children, doctors, lawyers, consultants. Marcus shared anecdotes about his professional victories, each one punctuated with a not-so-subtle dig at my lack of ambition. Jennifer, perhaps trying to be kind in her own way, suggested I might consider going back to school, maybe get an MBA. Though at your age and with your work history, I'm not sure how competitive you'd be for the good programs. I appreciate the thought, I said. You know what your problem is? Marcus set down his fork, warming to his subject. You are always too quiet, too passive. In the business world, you need to be aggressive. Take what's yours. That's why I'm where I am, and you're well where you are. Marcus makes an excellent point. My father agreed. You were always hiding behind books, avoiding confrontation. The real world doesn't reward that, Sarah. It rewards confidence, assertiveness. Like when Marcus negotiated his last promotion, Jennifer said proudly. He walked right into the senior VP's office and demanded a raise and a better title. That's how you get ahead. My mother nodded vigorously. Exactly. You need to be more like your brother, Sarah. Stop being so content with mediocrity. I took another sip of water, letting the criticism wash over me like rain on glass. They had no idea. None of them did. And that was exactly how I needed it to stay, at least for now. The sad thing is, my father continued, you had so much potential. We invested so much in you. Private tutoring, leadership camps, that expensive college prep program. Also, you could answer phones and transfer calls. At least she shows up to work, Marcus said mockingly. That's something, right? Reliability, even if there's no actual achievement to speak of. Jennifer patted my hand with false sympathy. Don't feel bad, Sarah. Not everyone is cut out for corporate success. Some people are just meant to be support staff. There's no shame in knowing your limitations, though. It would be nice if you'd at least found a husband by now. My mother added, Jennifer's sister is younger than you, and she's already engaged to an orthodontist. A very successful orthodontist. Mum, I'm just saying at your age and with your career situation, your options are getting limited. You can't afford to be picky. The conversation shifted to Marcus' latest sales numbers, which apparently had broken some kind of company record. My parents hung on every word, asking questions, offering congratulations, beaming with pride. This was their favorite child, their success story, the one who had fulfilled their expectations. I was the disappointment, the one they mentioned reluctantly to friends, if at all. The receptionist daughter who'd somehow squandered her potential. Oh, my mother suddenly exclaimed. I almost forgot. Marcus, tell your sister about the new account you landed. The big one. Marcus grinned, clearly relishing the chance to showcase another victory. Right. Snorted Tech Dynamics, the software company. I knew Tech Dynamics very well. They were one of our subsidiaries acquired 2 years ago for $840 million. I landed their corporate training contract. 3-year deal worth about $200,000 in commission for me personally. That's impressive, I said. And I meant it. The training division was lucrative, even if he didn't know he was ultimately selling to a company I owned. The best part, Marcus leaned forward conspiratorially. I've got a meeting scheduled next month with their parent company's procurement team. If I can land that contract, we're talking millions in revenue. Could push me right into that VP slot. What's the parent company? I asked, though I obviously knew the answer. Meridian Holdings. You've probably never heard of them. They're pretty high corporate stuff. Way above Receptionist territory. He laughed at his own joke. But they own like 30 companies. Tech Dynamics, Cloud Surf Solutions, about a dozen others. If I can get my foot in that door, I'm set for life. My father raised his glass to Marcus, the only one of our children who actually made something of himself. They all drank. I raised my glass politely, hiding my smile behind the rim. Marcus had no idea that his meeting next month was with my chief procurement officer, or that I personally have to approve any contract over $500,000. The irony was delicious. You should take notes, Sarah. Jennifer said. This is how you build a career. Strategic thinking, long-term planning, not just showing up and doing the bare minimum. Though honestly, my mother sighed. I don't know if Sarah has the capacity for that kind of strategic thinking. She's always been more simple, straightforward. Nothing wrong with simple, my father said, though his tone suggested otherwise. The world needs receptionists too. Someone has to answer the phones. Marcus checked his Rolex, a gift to himself after his last big commission. Speaking of which, Sarah, what time do you have to be at work on Monday? 9:30. Must be nice having such relaxed hours. I usually arrive around 6:30, I said. He blinked. In the morning? What? The office can't possibly open that early. I like to get a head start on the day. Jennifer laughed. A head start on what? Transferring calls. Setting up the coffee machine. Something like that. My mother shook her head sadly. All that education, all that potential, and you're arriving before dawn to answer phones. It's just tragic, really. The dinner dragged on. Dessert was served. My mother's famous apple pie, which somehow tasted more bitter than usual. The conversation eventually shifted away from my failures to other topics. My parents' upcoming cruise, Jennifer's new interior designer, the housing market in their gated community. I was mostly forgotten, which was fine. I checked my watch discreetly. It was nearly 8 o'clock. With any luck, I could make my excuses and leave soon. Before you go, my father said as if reading my mind, your mother and I wanted to talk to you about something. Here it comes, I thought. The intervention. The tough love conversation about my life choices. We're worried about you, sweetheart. My mother began, her voice saccharine with false concern. Living alone. Working that dead-end job. No prospects for advancement or marriage. It's not the life we envisioned for you. So, we've decided to help, my father announced. We've spoken with some colleagues. There might be an opportunity for you at Marcus's company. Marcus straightened in his chair. Right. We have an opening in our customer service department. It's still entry level and the pay isn't much better than what you're making now, but at least you'd be at a reputable company. Something you could build on. You'd be answering phones there too, Jennifer added helpfully. But at least it would be for a company people have heard of. Looks better on a resume. We put in a good word for you, Marcus continued. Tell them you're reliable, punctual. With my position, my recommendation would carry weight. You'd probably get the job. My mother clasped her hands together. Wouldn't that be wonderful? You and Marcus working at the same company. He could mentor you. Help you finally get your career on track. I set down my napkin carefully. That's very generous, but I'm happy where I am. Happy? My father's voice rose. How can you be happy wasting your life? We're offering you a chance. A real chance to finally make something of yourself. And you're going to throw it away out of stubbornness. I'm not being stubborn. I'm simply what? Content with mediocrity. Marcus leaned back, shaking his head. This is your problem, Sarah. No ambition, no drive. We're literally handing you an opportunity to improve your life. And you can't even see it. I appreciate the offer. Appreciate it. My mother's voice cracked with emotion. We're trying to save you from yourself. Do you want to be a receptionist forever? Do you want to end up alone, struggling financially with nothing to show for your life? Mum, I'm doing fine. You're 32 years old, answering phones, she nearly shouted. That is not fine. That is not what we raised you to be. The table fell silent. My mother's outburst hung in the air like smoke. Jennifer looked uncomfortable. Marcus looked vindicated. My father just looked disappointed, which was somehow worse. I think I said quietly, standing up, I should go. Of course, you should, my father said coldly. Run away. That's what you do, isn't it? Avoid difficult conversations. Avoid confronting your failures. I'm not running away. I just think this conversation has run its course. Wait, Marcus said, and something in his tone made me pause. He pulled out his phone, smirking. Before you go, I have to show you something. You know how I mentioned that meeting with Meridian Holdings' procurement team? Yes, I did some research on the company. Very secretive, very private. But I found something interesting. He turned his phone toward me, displaying a professional headshot from some business publication. This is their started the company 10 years ago. Built it into a billion-dollar empire. Pretty impressive. The photo showed a woman in her early 30s. Dark hair, confident smile, professional, polished, successful. The woman was me. Anyway, Marcus continued, not even looking at the photo closely. Point is, this is the kind of person who actually made something of themselves. Started from nothing, built an empire. That's real success. That's what you could have been if you'd actually tried. I stared at the photo of myself on his phone. The irony was almost too much. Here was my brother using me as an example of success to mock me for my failures without even recognizing that the successful CEO and his receptionist sister were the same person. She's impressive. I managed to say, right, Marcus pocketed his phone. That's ambition. That's drive. Meanwhile, you're answering phones in one of her buildings and calling it a career. If only he knew that he was technically my employee, that his company had a contract with one of my subsidiaries, that his upcoming big meeting was ultimately under my purview. But I said nothing. I'd learned long ago that sometimes the best response was silence. I really should go, I said, gathering my coat. My mother stood up, dabbing at her eyes with a napkin. Fine. Leave. Run away from people who actually care about you. But don't come crying to us when you're 50 and still answering phones, wondering where your life went. I'll take that risk. I was halfway to the door when it happened. The doorbell rang sharp and insistent. My father frowned, checking his watch. Who could that be at this hour? Before anyone could move, the door opened. I'd forgotten to lock it behind me when I arrived. And my executive assistant, Michael Chin, rushed in slightly out of breath. His usually immaculate suit jacket asked you. Ma'am, he said urgently, his eyes finding me immediately. Thank God I found you. I've been calling your personal line for the past 20 minutes. The room froze. Every eye turned to me, then to Michael, then back to me. Vam, my mother repeated, her voice faint. Michael didn't notice the family staring at him. He was too focused on the crisis at hand. The board has been trying to reach you. The Singapore merger. There's been a complication. The premier bankers, threatening to pull their funding unless the CEO personally guarantees the terms. They need you on a video call with their executive team in 30 minutes. Michael, I said quietly, trying to signal him to stop. But he was already continuing pulling out his tablet. And the Tech Dynamics quarterly review has been moved up to Monday morning. The division heads need your approval on the Q4 projections before the market opens. Plus, the Wall Street Journal is still waiting for your comment on the CloudServe acquisition. They're running the story tomorrow morning with or without your statement. Marcus had gone pale. Division heads. Michael finally seemed to notice the audience. his eyes widening slightly as he took in the scene. The dinner table, my family's shocked expressions, the tension in the room. "I apologize for interrupting your evening," he said more formally now. "But the Singapore deal is time-sensitive." "And who are you?" my father demanded. Michael straightened, falling into his professional demeanor. "Michael Chen, executive assistant to Sarah Mitchell, CEO of Meridian Holdings." He said it matter-of-factly, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. The silence that followed was deafening. Jennifer's wine glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the hardwood floor. No one moved to clean it up. My mother grabbed the edge of the table for support. Marcus' face had gone from pale to grey. His hand slowly reached for his phone. The phone where moments ago he'd shown me a photo of myself without recognizing me. "There must be some mistake," my father said, but his voice lacked conviction. Michael looked at me, confused by the family's reaction. "Ma'am, the Singapore call." I sighed, pulling out my own phone. "Tell the board I'll be on the call in 15 minutes. Send my apologies to Premier Bank's team for the delay. As for the journal, send them the standard statement. We're pleased with the CloudServe integration and expect it to strengthen our cloud services division significantly." "Yes, ma'am." Michael was already typing notes on his tablet. "Should I have the car wait for you?" "Please, Michael. Next time, maybe call ahead before rushing into family dinners." A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "Noted, ma'am. I'll be in the car." He nodded politely to my stunned family and left as quickly as he'd arrived. The door clicked shut. The silence returned heavier than before. Marcus was staring at his phone, his hands trembling slightly. He'd obviously pulled up the photo again, looking at it more carefully this time, comparing it to the woman standing in his parents' foyer. The resemblance was undeniable. The woman in the photo and his receptionist sister were the same person. "You're," he started, but couldn't finish the sentence. "The CEO of Meridian Holdings," I confirmed quietly. "Yes, but you told us you were a receptionist." My mother's voice was barely a whisper. "No," I corrected gently. "You assumed I was a receptionist. I work at the front desk of Meridian Tower, you said." I confirmed that I work at the front desk. The front desk of the executive floor where my office is. My father had sat down heavily, his face pale. The executive floor. The top floor. Actually, the entire top floor. Jennifer was still frozen, staring at the broken wine glass at her feet, as if it represented her understanding of reality. Marcus found his voice, though it came out strangled. "But that meeting I mentioned, the procurement team, that's your company." "Yes. And Tech Dynamics, that's one of our subsidiaries. I approved the acquisition personally 2 years ago." He looked like he might be sick. "The commission I was so proud of. The contract I landed. I was selling to my own sister's company. Technically, you were selling to a company that my company owns, but yes, essentially." My mother had found her voice again. "Why didn't you tell us?" I met her eyes calmly. "When would you have liked me to tell you? Between comments about my dead-end job and my wasted potential? Or perhaps during the lecture about how I need to be more like Marcus?" "That's not fair," my father protested weakly. "Isn't it?" I kept my voice level, emotionless. "Every family dinner for the past 5 years has been the same. You assume, you judge, you criticize. And I let you because honestly your opinion of my career stopped mattering to me a long time ago." "But why hide it?" Marcus asked. And for the first time, he sounded genuinely confused rather than mocking. "If you're that successful, why not just tell us?" "Because I wanted to see," I said simply. "I wanted to see if you could love me, respect me, value me as a person, not as a resume, not as a collection of achievements, but as your daughter, your sister." I paused. "Apparently you can't." The words hit them like a physical blow. My mother's hand went to her mouth. My father looked away. Even Jennifer seemed to grasp the weight of what I'd said. "Sarah," my mother began. "It's fine," I said, and I meant it. "I stopped needing your approval years ago. I built Meridian Holdings from nothing. A small tech consulting firm I started in my bedroom with money from tutoring jobs. No family investment, no connections, just work. 10 years ago, my father said, slowly doing the math. You were 22.23 actually. I incorporated the month after graduation." Marcus was scrolling through his phone, frantically pulling up articles, press releases, financial reports. "The Singapore merger Michael mentioned. That's the Apex Digital deal. I read about it in the journal last week. $800 million. $840 million, I corrected. We got them to come down on the price. And CloudServe," Jennifer whispered, finally finding her voice. "That acquisition was in the news. They said it was one of the biggest tech deals of the year. Second biggest in our sector," I said. "We would have been first, but Microsoft beat us on timing." My mother sank into a chair looking lost. "But how? How did we not know?" "I keep a low profile. Meridian Holdings is privately held. I own 70% of the equity with the rest divided among early investors and key executives. I don't do press conferences. I don't attend galas. I work. The apartment we mocked," my father said, his voice hollow. "The tiny place with the outdated kitchen is a 600 QFT penthouse that I designed. Myself. The outdated kitchen is actually a custom installation by a James Beard award-winning chef's design team. Architectural Digest featured it. And your clothes," Jennifer added, staring at my simple black dress with new understanding. "That's not department store, is it? Armani. I have a personal shopper in Milan." Marcus was still scrolling, his expression growing more horrified with each article he found. "You're listed as one of the 30 most influential tech CEOs under 40. Forbes estimated your net worth it." "Jesus Christ, Sarah. Forbes tends to underestimate," I said. "They don't have access to our private financials." "How much?" my father asked, though he sounded like he was afraid of the answer. "I'd rather not say. Let's just say that Marcus's BMW could fit comfortably into my monthly entertainment budget." Marcus looked at his phone, then at me, then at his phone again. His face had gone from grey to green. "The meeting next month, the procurement team. You're going to be in that meeting. I approve all contracts over $500,000 personally," I confirmed. "So, yes, I'll be reviewing your proposal." The implications were hitting him now, visibly like waves crashing over him one after another. He'd spent the entire evening mocking his sister's lack of ambition, bragging about a sale to her subsidiary, planning to impress her procurement team with his skills, never knowing that she was the one who would ultimately decide his fate. "Oh God," he whispered. "Though I should mention," I continued, "that procurement decision will be based entirely on merit. If your proposal is competitive and serves Meridian's interests, I'll approve it. I don't mix family with business." "That's thank you," he managed, though he looked like he wanted to throw up. My phone buzzed. A text from Michael. "Car ready. Board waiting. I need to go," I said, pulling on my coat. "The Singapore deal won't negotiate itself." "Wait." My mother stood up, reaching out to me. "Please, Sarah. We need to talk about this." "We need to." "No," I said gently but firmly. "We don't. You've made your feelings about me quite clear over the years. The only thing that's changed is your awareness of my bank account. But I'm still the same person I was when I walked in here tonight. The same person you spent 3 hours belittling." "We didn't know," my father said weakly. "Exactly. You didn't know. And you treated me like a failure, like someone to be pitied and lectured and offered pity jobs. I looked at each of them in turn. What does it say about you that you only respect me now, that you know I'm wealthy? None of them had an answer. Sarah, please. My mother tried again, tears streaming down her face. Now, we're your family. Are you? I asked quietly. Because family should support each other unconditionally. Family should see value in each other, beyond professional accomplishments and social status. Family should love each other for who they are, not what they've achieved. We do love you, she insisted. Do you love the idea of having a successful daughter? Because those are very different things. I walked to the door, then paused, looking back at them one last time. They looked smaller somehow, diminished. Marcus had his head in his hands. Jennifer was crying silently. My parents looked lost, adrift, as if the foundation of their understanding had crumbled beneath them. For what it's worth, I said, I didn't do this for revenge. I didn't hide my success to hurt you or teach you a lesson. I did it because I wanted to build something that was mine, free from your expectations and judgments. I wanted to succeed or fail on my own terms. And you succeeded, my father said, his voice cracking beyond anything we could have imagined. Yes, I did. I opened the door, letting in the cold December air. Merry Christmas. I left them there in that dining room that had been the site of so many disappointing family dinners. So many lectures about my failures and my brother's successes. I left them with their assumptions shattered and their smugness turned to ash. Michael was waiting by the car, holding the door open. Everything all right, ma'am? Fine, I said, sliding into the back seat. Let's focus on Singapore. What's the latest from Premier Bank? As the car pulled away from my parents' house, I saw them through the window, still frozen in the dining room, still processing, still trying to understand how they'd gotten everything so wrong. My phone buzzed with messages. The board, probably all Michael sending briefing documents for the call, but there was one message that stood out from Marcus. I don't know what to say, I'm so sorry for everything. I stared at the message for a long moment, then set my phone aside without responding. Sorry wasn't enough. Sorry didn't erase 5 years of condescension and mockery. Sorry didn't undo the countless dinners where they'd made me feel worthless. Sorry was just a word, and words were cheap. The car merged onto the highway, carrying me back toward the city, toward Meridian Tower, toward the life I'd built with my own hands in my own mind. The life my family had never bothered to ask about, never thought to investigate, never considered possible. In the morning, I'd handle the Singapore merger. I'd review Marcus' proposal with complete objectivity as I'd promised. I'd give my statement to the Wall Street Journal. I'd run my billion-dollar company with the same quiet competence that had built it in the first place. And my family would have to reconcile themselves to the truth that their disappointing daughter had been extraordinary all along, achieving more in a decade than they'd ever imagined possible. They just hadn't bothered to look. Michael handed me a tablet with the briefing materials for Singapore. The Premier Bank team is very eager to speak with you directly, ma'am. They've heard of your negotiation skills, have they? I allowed myself a small smile. Apparently, you have quite a reputation in international finance circles. They called you formidable but fair. Formidable but fair. I like that better than receptionist. Certainly, better than disappointing. As the city lights grew brighter ahead of us, I thought about my family, probably still sitting in that dining room, probably still trying to process what had happened. Part of me, a small part, the part that remembered being a little girl seeking her parents' approval, felt something like sympathy for them. But the larger part, the part that had endured years of their dismissal and condescension, felt nothing but relief. Relief that I no longer needed their approval. Relief that I'd proven, at least to myself, that I was capable of extraordinary things. Relief that I was finally completely free. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Marcus. Your meeting next month. I'll understand if you reject my proposal. I deserve it. I thought about responding, about telling him that business was business, that I wouldn't punish him professionally for personal failings. But I decided to let him stew a little longer. Let him spend the next month wondering, worrying, second-guessing every assumption he'd ever made about me. It wasn't revenge exactly. It was just letting him sit with the consequences of his actions. Letting him understand what it felt like to be judged, to be found wanting, to be uncertain of his value. The same way I'd felt for 5 years of family dinners. Ma'am, Michael's voice pulled me from my thoughts. We're approaching the tower. The board is standing by. I straightened my Armani dress, pulled up the briefing materials, and shifted mental gears from family drama to international finance. This was what I did. This was who I was. Not a receptionist, not a disappointment, not a failure. Sarah Mitchell, builder of empires. Answer, phones technically, but only when those phones were direct lines to billion-dollar deals. The car pulled into Meridian Tower's private garage. Through the window, I could see my building rising into the night sky. All glass and steel, an ambition made manifest. Every floor represented hours of work, smart decisions, calculated risks. Every window represented people, employees, partners, clients who valued my leadership, my vision, my competence. My family had spent years looking at me and seeing nothing but wasted potential. They'd been looking at a billion-dollar empire and calling it a failure. The joke ultimately was on them. Michael opened the car door. Ready, ma'am? I stepped out into the cool garage air, my heels clicking on the concrete with satisfying authority. Ready, I said, and I was ready for Singapore, ready for the week ahead, ready for whatever came next. Ready for the life I'd built. Brick by brick, success by success. All while my family looked right through me. Their loss, I thought, stepping into my private elevator. Their loss entirely.